This is the Brew World Order Podcast.
Welcome to the Brew World Order Podcast. My name is Mike Curtin. If you haven't subscribed yet, well, shame on you. This is episode number 47. In this episode, I sit down with Eric Meyer, owner of Cahaba Brewing Company in Birmingham, Alabama. Eric talks to me about how they dealt with the COVID shutdown. He also tells us about the moment he knew he wanted to start a brewery, and how he feels the beer community and the firefighting community are so synonymous. Well, you have those people that always seem to get along no matter what, but then you have that other small group that doesn't really seem to get along with anybody, and they just seem to butt heads with the other group. I know exactly how that feels, because honestly, I don't think anyone likes me in a bar, or in the firehouse, and I'm okay with that, because I know when I go home at night, I have my podcast episodes to hold me close and tell me everything's going to be all right. I just pray that they can do the same for you as well. And if not, just sit back, crack open a beer, and hopefully enjoy the podcast. You know I will. Hey guys, I'm Mike Curtin. This is the Brew World Order Podcast, and today I'm with Eric Meyer, owner of Cahaba Brewing Company in Birmingham, Alabama. Back in 1996, Eric Meyer attended UAB with his sights set on a career in medicine. While there, he was introduced to professors who broadened his experiences and introduced him to a new way of thinking. In his junior year, Eric had changed his mind and developed an interest in geographic information systems given his newfound love of the environment. He wound up landing an internship with the Jefferson County Stormwater Management Authority, where he mapped the entire Cahaba River with GPS. Eric graduated in 2001 and continued his geographic information systems work. During that time, he completed EMT classes at UAB to become a firefighter. When he moved to a new neighborhood, he met Paul Baker, and Paul introduced Eric to a world of homebrewing, and it quickly caught his attention. When he wasn't working, Eric spent his free time using his educational background to experiment with different recipes for homebrewing. After years of praise from friends and family in perfecting his craft, he and some friends came up with a business plan to open his brewery, and in 2011, Cahaba Brewing Company was born. And Eric Meyer's here with me today. Eric, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. How are you?
Oh, just wonderful. Right off the bat, you're a firefighter. Thank you for your work. I'm also a firefighter, so I understand the lifestyle. But I'm sure, you were brewing beer and you were able to give it to, the guys around you because it's like almost like a culture. But the feedback from there, what was that sparking moment for you when you finally decided, let's open a brewery?
Yeah, so for me, homebrewing had all these firemen wanting to drink the beer, one, because it was free, and two, it was readily available for them.
Right.
For me, it was just a process of one of my buddies had been out of town at Old Mecklenburg Brewing in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he was like, Eric, your beer is on par or better than these guys.
Right.
You need to do this in Birmingham, and everybody can have their opinions on the state of Alabama. One of those is always true, and that's we're way behind. So in 2011, 2010, we only had really one brewery in town, if not only like three in the entire state of Alabama. And one of the goals for me, just through my education and through a handful of other things, was how can I create a clean, consistent product to go on the shelves and compete with these guys, as well as with the Oscar Blues, with the New Belgians, with the Great Divide, and get on tap at a local pub. That was my original goal. Let's just get on tap. Can I have my tap on the wall at the local craft beer bar? And that would be success to me.
Gotcha. And how did you go about funding the business when you finally decided to take it to that level? Yeah,
so for me, my grandfather passed away in 2008. He left all the grandkids a little bit of money. I got $10,000.
Nice.
I love playing in the stock market, just having some fun. I threw it in the stock market, and I thought I was like I need to be up there on Wall Street. And the big thing was I was throwing money in the market when the market was at its bottom. So I was lucky. I was able to double my money. And, I had $20,000 in my pocket. My original goal was to get with 10 of my buddies. We're all in our late 20s. And, let's do some gentlemen's handshakes. Let's $100 a month. Let's open up a small place down the street. I was going to buy the brew house myself. We were going to make 4 barrels of beer a week. So we were going to make about 120 gallons a week was my goal.
Right.
I I came across one of my partners, and he was like, "You don't need 10 guys. I'm going to be your guy. Let's make this thing happen." So then from there, we met with a good buddy of mine who was the founder of Free the Hops, the big movement that kind of helped, grassroots movement that helped move craft beer in Alabama and got us, above 6% beers. And then we were able to have breweries with tasting rooms. And he's like, "Eric, I've had your beer. You need to be making more than 120 gallons, more than 4 barrels of beer a week. You're going to kill yourself. This one bar will drink everything you can make."
Right.
So we took a step back. I heard of some equipment being sold in the north of Alabama. One of the breweries that was going was ready to move from a 3.5 barrel system to a 10 or 15 barrel system. And, we were looking for, a little under $100,000 to buy this stuff. So I brought on 3 other partners. We brought together pretty much $100,000, and that was the beginning of Cahaba Brewing Company.
Right. Well, God bless Grandpa, and God bless the recession.
Right. There are some positive things that come out of these scenarios.
You're right. So, from the moment you started, when you finally, started opening your brewery, to the moment you finished, when you were actually building, what would you say was one of the hardest things you had to deal with during that time? One
of the hardest things we had to deal with was, our city. The city of Birmingham is a great city. By the time we were getting ready to open, we were the 3rd brewery in town. And they weren't sure what they were doing. They weren't sure, the city wasn't sure what breweries were. This is something new. This is Wild Wild West. And they weren't really sure what was going on. So for me, I brought in this boiler, this kettle. It's a brew kettle. It was where you bring in the wort, you boil it, and you add the hops and whatever.
Right.
It came from Huntsville. It came down here. The city of Birmingham said, "That is a boiler." And I was like, "It's not a boiler. Boilers build pressure. This is just a big pot." And he goes, "No, it's a boiler. Right here, code says a boiler is anything that boils a liquid."
Oh,
period.
Boy.
So from there, I had to get this thing UL listed or ETL listed. That cost me, somewhere around $15,000. It took about 4 months. The manufacturer for the equipment actually said, "There's no way in hell you're going to get this thing UL listed." And so just having to go through that, and at the end of the day, the city was like, "Hey, now you know that your equipment's safe." And that was it. So I'm like, it was safe before. It was fine when I had it, and now I had to spend this money just so it has a little sticker on it that now it's approved. And again, I work for the government. I understand that there's regulations and we got to play by them. It was just one of those to where it was just a tough scenario to kind of play out, especially for a young business that's, trying to get off the ground.
Right. I mean, you speak of working for the government and how important the environment is to you. How does that role play into your brewery?
We want to create a clean, consistent product. We want to make sure that everything that we do is, top-notch, high quality. And that was a blessing for me out of the gate is, as a firefighter, I'd work a day and I'd be off too. I'd work a day and I'm off too.
Right, for sure.
And because of that, I didn't take a salary. I didn't get any money out of the gate. I was the brewer. I was working cellar. A couple of my other partners we all had full-time jobs at other places. They would come in at night and do a lot of my cellar work and try to help out. But what was great about that was if we had a batch of beer that wasn't quality, it never made it out the door. It never made it to the taps because, we didn't need that to pay my salary. We didn't need that to put food on the table for my family.
Right.
And we were able to focus on quality. And then from that, connecting that back to the environment is trying to make sure that everything that we do as a business, as a homeowner, as a person in the community, how can we keep our environment safe by doing the best thing that we can at every single moment? How can we pay attention to our waste? How can we pay attention to our utility usage? How can we then also know that, we're making money? I mean, people are spending $5-6 for a pint of beer or pour a beer. We're making money on that. Now, we had overhead. We got to pay for equipment. We got to pay for ingredients. We got to pay for all those things. There's still money at the end of the day because beer's getting expensive, So why not take that money back and support the Cahaba River Society, support the Cahaba River Keepers, support all the other organizations that we can in the community and throughout the state to, help raise awareness and do cleanups and do anything that we can to, better our own neighborhoods and our own community.
Yeah, definitely. Make more money to give back more. That's awesome. One of my questions that I always ask is, what's something you never thought you would have to deal with in this industry? But also, on top of that, obviously, I'm sure you didn't expect to deal with a COVID shutdown. How did you guys go about dealing with that?
Yeah, that is something that we never planned on. I mean,
Right.
The fire service, we never planned on it, even though we're planned for Ebola and we're planned for anthrax. We're planned for all these things, and all of a sudden,
Of course.
COVID comes, and we're like, what in the world's happening? There was no way to plan for this. So what we were able to do is, the state shut down, completely shut down for a short period of time. Nothing like New York City, nothing like San Francisco.
Right.
My sister's out there, and but there was a period of time to where I think we were completely shut down for only about 2 to 3 weeks. But then from there, that you were able to get out and get to essential businesses. Because we produce a food, because we are a beverage producer, our facility never shut down. My guys were blessed. My guys and girls that work here were blessed because we never shut down.
Yes.
And production in the back was always rolling. And I always have to say, again, we always find the bright side to all these things. Thank you to all the people that were able to spend more time at their homes with their families and their close neighbors, and were able to enjoy beer at home because, canned beer, packaged product, those volumes went up, which meant that I was able to keep my guys and girls working and keep money coming in to hopefully keep, we kept paying them. But what we were also able to do is we were able to do some to-go beers. We already had cans. We were doing crowlers. We were doing growlers. We were on the cusp of doing spirits. We're also distillery. We had not planned on pushing that into the market until June of 2020. We had backstock that we were getting ready for June. And when that hit, it was like, again, kind of like the firehouse. What the hell do we do?
Right.
We immediately got our labels approved and started selling these bottles of vodka and gin and whiskey and peated whiskey and right out the front door. And that was huge. And from that, we were then able to, start doing take-home cocktail kits where we prepare little pint bottles of cocktail mixes, and you would take that in a ginger ale and in our whiskey and make a drink, or vodka and make a drink. So we were able to also stay, creative and innovative and keep all of our people engaged. Also gave the community an outlet to come and show support. The tips that my bartenders, we brought on a couple of them. We already had a few that were full-time. We brought on a couple that were almost full-time beforehand. We brought them on full-time. But the amount of tips that those bartenders got just working the door, people come in and buy a $20 bottle of vodka, and they'd hand them, $30.
Right.
And it's like, just seeing that support from the local community was huge.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. It's a good feeling. Since you opened in 2011 to now, you've hit 10 years now. What do you think is the hardest adjustment you had to make throughout that whole time?
For me, coming from the firehouse, there's a really cool thing that people that are not in the beer world don't know. And that's that the beer community is as close or almost as close of a community as the firefighter community. You can put a couple firefighters in a bar together, and there's a good chance that 90% of them are going to get along. They're going to drink beer together, and they're going to have a blast. There's still the 10% that are going to end up fist fighting.
Right.
It's the same way in the beer community. You can put brewers and people in the beer world together, and no matter where you're from, there's that common thing that's coming together.
Right.
And it's a really cool thing. So in that, I'm always been blessed. I have 2 careers that I love, 2 careers that have provided, in a sense, a family network for me. So for me, one of the hardest things has been just personnel issues. It's just, you've got so many great people. And again, from the fire service, not all personalities come together right.
Of
Things
course.
happen.
Of course.
And that's just what happens.
Right.
And for me, it's just hard, because, so many people have been with me for a number of years, and, just all of a sudden something happens, and here we are, and now we have to work through it. And it's just, I would say that's the hardest thing for me, because so much of that I take personally. And I don't take it personally as in like I've failed, but it's like I just haven't helped this person succeed the way that I should have.
Right.
And to me, that's hard. Now, at the same time, I would say that's one of my proudest moments. I've had three of my people from Cahaba move on to new places, bigger breweries, dream jobs, and that's like a proudful thing for me, because it's just cool to see somebody that started with us, that was in the industry with us, that worked with us, and has continued to be able to move on and go to things that we all dream about doing. And so yeah, it's a really hard thing when you have to deal with it from the negative side, but at the same time, it's one of the things that makes you, I mean, to be honest, I am more proud about that than I am that, our blonde is one of the best selling beers in Birmingham.
Right.
I mean, that's a cool thing. Being that one of the best selling beers in Birmingham is awesome. But the fact that I've been able to have people that have worked here and are going on to dream careers because of what we did here is makes me prouder as a business owner and as a person.
Right. Like watching your kid graduate from college. It's like, oh, what a feeling.
Exactly.
So I'm sure you've come across hundreds of people in the beer industry. Who do you think's inspired you the most in the beer industry?
The guys at Sierra Nevada.
Okay.
The fact of where they've been, what they've been able to do, and continue to stay their path is very inspirational to me. Brewery in Wisconsin that has never left the state. New Glarus. That brewery continues to produce ultra high quality products, is in the top 50 breweries in the U.S., and they've never sent beer outside of their own state.
Wow.
Two other ones that really stand out to me are Oscar Blues.
Right.
Oscar Blues, the guy is Dan. He's from Auburn, went to Auburn down here in Alabama. He's been able to do some really cool things, and they've always been innovative. They've always been on the front end of all the cool things that we as brewers want to be doing, putting beer into cans way back when, being innovative about buying other breweries and trying to make changes and consolidation. The fact he's got a dang bike that he created, the Reed bike. I mean, I'm a mountain biker.
Right.
I think that's one of the coolest things ever. I want one of those bikes. But then also, the guys at Creature Comforts, they're in Athens, Georgia. These guys are actually a little bit younger in brewery years than we are. But just what those guys, that team has been able to do. I always say I have a bromance for that brewery. One of my guys that I'm talking about is going to work for Creature Comforts. If I was to ever leave Cahaba, I would go work for Creature Comforts. I mean, that's where I would go, unless the Sierra Nevada job opened up. But,
right.
Creature would be that place that I would want to go work just because of the camaraderie, the quality of the products, the innovation of what's going on, the innovation of the teams, everything about it. Creature is, I've got a bromance. I mean, it's just,
gotcha.
It's just such a good group of guys and girls.
And how do you yourself define success?
That's it's fun that you asked that question. This morning, I was actually doing some mentorship for one of the guys in the firehouse. He's looking to try to become a driver. He did the last interview process. He didn't make it that time. He's hoping to make it one of these next few times. And I was trying to help him understand that, promotions and getting those titles, is that really what success is? I mean, the guy works in an ER as a nurse on his days off. He's got an awesome family. He needs to determine what his success is. For me, that is a challenge. I'm a lieutenant in the firehouse. The next step for me is to be a battalion chief. Is that really what would define me in success there? Well, no, it's the fact that I have young guys coming to me for mentoring and leadership advice. People asking to be on my truck when like my driver's about to retire in December, people asking to be on my truck. I actually had one of my rookies ask me to officiate his wedding. I mean, what kind of success is that? To me, that is huge.
Right.
In the beer world, the ability to continue to create a business that makes a high quality product, and I can have a sustainable business that provides careers for people. To me, that's success. You know, as a guy, I get jealous because we're not the brewery that people seek out. We're not the Treehouse, you know, in Boston.
Right.
We're not the Trilliums. We're not somebody that people are traveling all over the country to try to come find. But we make a high quality product. We are one of the best selling beers here in Birmingham. And I have people that come to work for me that have left other breweries and been like, I'm out of the industry. This industry sucks. And then they come here and they're like, this is what the beer industry can be like.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, we can take care of our employees. We can provide benefits. We can give them volunteer opportunities and give them time off to go do that. You know, I want to hear your ideas and help me make this place better. So to me, that's success. You know, I'd love to say, yeah, we're going to make 25,000 barrels of beer a year, and that would be successful to me. Or, you know, I'd love to win a GABF medal. I mean, and none of these are bad. None of these would I look down on.
Right.
But at the end of this, wherever that is, you know, the ability to have people again going on to Creature to work, going to Stone and work, you know, I mean, that's huge. And, you know, we've been very good about turnover here. Here recently, we've had a couple turnovers, so I can't say we have very low turnover here now. But, you know, the guy who's leaving me has been with me for 5 years.
Right.
And, I mean, top-notch individual. And, you know, it's even at the point of, if you ever want to come back, you just tell me, and I will find a job here for you, you know. So to me, that's success more than awards or an EBIT of XYZ or whatever. So.
Right. Yeah. 5 years is not a short time, you know, so.
No.
That's a good amount of time for somebody to be at a place. I'm sure at times it could be a slight bit stressful, owning a business. How important is a mental break for you, and what does that look like?
Yeah, mental breaks are huge. I've struggled with that for many years. Before I became a lieutenant, I was a driver. You know, when I would go to the firehouse as a driver, you know, responsibility was the truck and doing these things with the truck. But, you know, I always had a lieutenant. He was always the one in charge. He was the one that always kind of guided everything, and I wasn't responsible. Once I became a lieutenant, everything changed.
Right.
And so before, the firehouse was my mental break. It was my way to just get away, to hang out with the guys, to work out, to do some training, do the cool stuff firemen like to do, run the calls and all that. Once I became a lieutenant, I didn't have that anymore. Just because of the responsibility, the concern about training my guys, the concerns about dealing with, you know, battalion chiefs. Again, it's a mess. But so I've struggled with that. You know, it's put a strain on my marriage. My wife and I have talked about it. And what I've had to do, two things is, one, I have to dedicate time away from the brewery. You know, I try to pull like a normal work day at the brewery, you know, a 7 to 5 kind of thing.
Right.
So that I go home at night and I can spend time with my kids and I can spend time with my wife. We do date nights every Friday night if we can, if I'm not at the firehouse.
Right.
The other thing I've started doing, and I actually picked this up during COVID, you know, I joined a gym, not just like CrossFit or something. I'm doing jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Very cool.
And the goal there is, you know, and that's what I was running late today, is I need an hour. It's at lunch. I'm not taking time away from my family. I'm actually walking away from the brewery, and I'm going there and I'm engaging myself. And what's awesome about Brazilian jiu-jitsu is it's like kick my ass chest. You know, it's
right.
When I am done, I almost feel like I'm going to vomit because I'm so exhausted, but your brain is exhausted just from trying to think through each step of what the guy's doing that you're rolling with, and how can I play 2 steps ahead of him. And you just have to, and the guys here know, it's like, it's Tuesday, Thursday, Fridays, you know, about 11:15, I'm skipping out. Okay. I'll be back at 1 o'clock. I'm back on the clock and we're running. I need to make that time just so that I can get some clarity and get some calmness. The other thing is, I really try to get on my mountain bike. Most of my kids ride. I try to get them riding. but that's another step because you got to go and get the bike and get them ready. And, so I don't do that as much as I wish I could.
Gotcha. Well, we appreciate the time you're giving us now. I know your schedule is probably insane with working, your job, keeping healthy for the physical and mental, everything else that falls in with it. I appreciate it. One of my favorite questions, what was your gateway beer into the craft beer world?
What's wild about it is back when I was in high school, one of my buddies had signed up for one of these Beer of the Month clubs.
Right. Okay.
Who knows how much he lied on it, but all of a sudden he was actually getting Samuel Adams beer shipped into the state of Alabama, which again is completely illegal, sent to a 16-year-old, again completely illegal. And so I remember drinking Samuel Adams Boston Lager and the ale back in high school. Now, back then, it was horrible. I hated it. It was sucked. But it wasn't really until college, you started getting away from the macro world. You started trying to find like the Newcastles and some things like that to give you something a little bit more because you weren't trying to get quantity. You're trying to get actually quality.
Right. Of course.
And then from there, Sierra Nevada. Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale is still one of my favorite beers. You have the Fat Tire whenever you go out to Colorado.
Right.
That was phenomenal beer. You had the Boston Lager, which was good. And actually, one of our first beers we created at Cahaba was a hoppy amber. And my dream goal with that was to create the blend of a Boston Lager and a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Bostons are good. They're just, to me, just a little too sweet. You can have one, maybe two, and you're done.
Right.
The Pale Ales are good, but I need a little bit more maltiness to kind of help balance it out a little bit more with respect to food. And so we created a beer we called Liquid Ambar out of the gate, and we kind of ran with it. Now, do we make it today? No.
Right.
It's like a porter. Everybody who loves it, that's all they want, but nobody else wants to touch it. So, you don't see a ton of ambers in the market these days, and that was kind of one of the victims of that.
Gotcha. What do you think's next for your brewery? What does the future look like?
That's something that we should be challenging ourselves with on a monthly basis, if not quarterly basis. The thing we're actually trying to work on right now is we brought on an extra salesperson. So we normally had 2 salespeople to cover the state of Alabama. We brought on a third, and our goal is to really dig in deep. Everybody, the craft beer talks about drinking local, drink local, drink local, drink local.
Right.
And then we all want to expand. We all want to go to other states. And so you see through the last Brewer Association report that came out, a lot of your a lot of your big national and regional brands had decreases in 2020. A lot of your smaller, ultra local breweries had growth.
Right.
And it's because when New York's a completely different area than Birmingham. I'll stop there. But in Birmingham, in Atlanta, in Nashville, when I travel to these towns, when I'm there at a restaurant, what do you have that's local? What do you have that's around the corner? I'm always going to the breweries trying to drink that.
Right. Same here.
Yes. So why do I expect somebody in Atlanta to drink Cahaba? There's a lot of great breweries in Atlanta. There's Creature is in Athens, right outside Atlanta. If
Right.
I'm in Atlanta, I'm drinking Creature. So for Cahaba, we're trying to really dig in deep into our local communities. We think there's a lot more room here, especially in the communities that are different than the normal craft beer drinker. One of the things that craft beer has fallen short on, and that's diversity. And so we are trying to dig into that completely in many different facets, from educational opportunities through scholarships at Auburn University, through Cicerone scholarships, through just more education. So that's some things that we're trying to do, what we would consider, low-hanging fruit, things that are right here in our own backyard. Now, from there, I would love to actually open up Atlanta. It's 2 hours away from me. You
Right.
get there and back for lunch if you really want to. So why not enter into that market and try to make a play at it? We just haven't had the opportunity as ownership to really sit down and make a good game plan to do that, and we need to. But again, for us, the focus so much has been local that it's hard to, when you have all that low-hanging fruit, to not just continue to go after it. The last thing for us is really the state of Alabama is changing some laws for us, and it is going to allow a brewery to transfer beer to another location of similar ownership. So the ability for me to go to Huntsville, Alabama, which is the second biggest city in the state,
Right.
or to go to the coast and open up another Cahaba brewing company
Right.
there
Make it
and allow transfers from a major manufacturing facility to a minor would be huge.
Right.
Because then we're
making
able
like
to
a tap
play
room?
even more of that local game.
Just making like a tap room in the area, you mean?
Yes.
Gotcha.
So like a small little 5-barrel brew house, maybe 2 fermenters, so you can do some local, just their beers. And
Right.
then like our American Blonde or our Blonde is the best seller across the board. So the ability to not have to make that beer in that location and just be able to put it on a truck and carry it down there,
Very cool.
would be huge.
All right. Well, you talk about Creatures Comforts. I've never had that before, but I have. I mean, and you say it's in Athens, Georgia. I've had Terrapin before, but I'm sure Terrapin might be a little bit bigger than them. I suppose, because I've been able to get that up here. But
Yes.
I would love to try.
Terrapin's
I would love to try it on your recommendation.
I want to say, yeah, Creature's great. Terrapin's actually partially owned by, I think, Peter Coors. He bought some shares of Terrapin, I don't know, probably 8 years ago.
Okay.
And don't hold me to any facts here.
Right.
But, the rumor is that, they asked him a year or two later, would you have done that again? And he said, hell no, I would have bought 2 or 3 times as many shares. So it's just kind of a cool story there.
Right. Yeah, they have a lot of good stuff that I've tried that I like.
Yeah.
So if somebody came to you and which I'm sure they do, and they ask you about opening their own place, their own brewery, what would you tell them?
I think, yes, let's do it. Go for it. We have we got a good number of people that have come through here. Some of them have opened their own places and are successful. Some of them, from spending some time with me, have learned that they never want to do that. Again, we talked about the community is huge. And for me, the community is huge. And if I can help grow craft beer in the state of Alabama, then that means my brewery is going to grow. In the state of Alabama, we're drinking, sub 10% of all beer sold in the state is craft beer. And if we could get up to the national average, that means my brewery is going to grow, 40%, which is great. It's huge. So the ability to continue to introduce more people to local by having more local breweries, more local brew pubs, that is great. The big thing that I would educate, and I do this with everybody, and some listen, some don't. I mean, again, they're all their own small business owners, is really focus on the small brew pub model. Now, COVID kicked them all in the teeth, but there's one down the street, Birmingham District. Kale does a great job there. They have a small brew house. They're producing some great, awesome beers. They're canning them there and just selling them out the door. And I'm like, man, just keep, he keeps talking to me about distribution, and I'm like, man, if you really want to, do it, but keep doing what you're doing. And again, keep your staff small, take care of your people, and just keep doing that, because, getting into a large chain grocery store, a Walmart, a local grocery store, dealing with distributors, it's a lot of work that I think people don't consider.
Right.
And people think that, hey, I'm going to make this beer, this distributor's going to buy it for me, and they have to put it on the shelf. And I want to say, well, they don't have to. They have to try. They don't have to. And be aware, like I told you earlier, I've got 3 salespeople in the market, and their job is to secure Cahaba taps and to make sure people are drinking Cahaba. So unless you're ready to get salespeople into the market, remember, I'm not trying to go after local taps. I'm not trying to take local placements. But if a place only has 6 taps, my guys are going to do, we're very respectful. We don't do any of the shady crap all these other breweries do. But, we're going to be respectful and we're going to do our job on trying to get our beer on tap.
Of course.
So, and I try to tell these guys that, and a lot of them do listen. But I just don't think a lot of them realize that there's a lot that goes into, taking, meeting with these retail accounts and making sure that everybody's happy and making sure everything's taken care of. And again, we don't even make the sale. The distributor makes the sale. So again, if you don't take care of the distributor, then they might not even sell the product, even though the bar's told you that they want to buy your product.
Right. Right.
So there's just a lot more that goes into it than I think most people are aware of. But no, I don't tell anybody, stick your money in the toilet, flush it and run away. I'm all about, hey, let's go. If you want me to look over your business plan, you want to run ideas by me, I'm more than happy. Come on in. I've got free beer. Let's sit and drink and, talk about this.
Right.
I even had a guy trying to do his own craft sodas. And, man, we went through probably 2 hours of his business plan and everything was good until he told me that, or I asked him, how's this thing going to be served? And he said, oh, it's going to go on tap and, they're going to be able to pull it off, whatever, like a Sprite off a beer tap.
Right.
And I was like, well, Eddie, I'll just tell you right here, you have just become a competitor of mine. Right. You're taking a tap handle from a brewery, so you've now become a competitor of mine. So just be aware that, is the bar going to make the same margin on your soda as they are on my beer? And if they're not, then, be aware that the bar, the restaurant, is probably not going to put it on if they don't make at least as much money as they do on the beer.
Yeah, for sure.
And then know that you're fighting my salespeople, good people salespeople, trim tab salespeople, all the other brewery salespeople in the area. We're all fighting for those same 6 or 12 or 24 taps. Let alone my buddy Randy, who works for Stone. He's trying to get Stone taps. Again, as this community keeps growing and growing, there's not the number of tap handles isn't growing and growing. So
of course, right.
It just becomes a tougher game that I don't think people are as aware of.
I feel like it's a tightly knit community. It's like a brotherhood, the brewing industry, but there's going to be competition because everybody needs to make their business work. That's what they want. That's what they're getting into the game for. So, Eric, did you happen to have a funny story for us?
Yeah. So thinking about a funny story, the best one I come up with is, there's a ton, but for me, the one that stands out the most, and one of my, another driver at the firehouse, he was my taproom manager for a number of years. And, we were at the old brewery and we're hanging out and I had, NPR, the local affiliate was at the brewery. And man, I was having like one of those proud business owner moments. I got dang NPR doing a not live, but a recorded interview with me while I'm working through the process. Right. And, my buddy Heath's over at the bar kind of hanging out and everything's kind of real close together. And man, I was sitting there and I was just talking, as you can tell, I enjoy talking. And I was just talking away. I was unhooking this hose from the dang brew kettle. And I was like, in my head, I'm going, why is this tri-clamp not releasing? There's something, I don't know why these stupid tri-clamps aren't releasing. And all of a sudden, it was like a transformer blew. Boom! And what it was is, I had, because I was distracted by talking to NPR guy, I didn't turn off the oxygen. We oxygenate our wort on its way to the fermenter. Okay. Give the yeast some oxygen to kind of start through the process. Well, because I was talking with him, I forgot to turn the oxygen off. And the hose had sat there and just pressurized with pure oxygen. I didn't know that. I wasn't paying attention. I was distracted. Right. And when that thing let loose, the guy from NPR and myself were covered with hop material, wort hot break, all these things that come out of the bottom of the
geez.
kettle and we're in these hoses and just covered. And Watkins is over there. Heath Watkins, my station guy, is over there just rolling in the floor because he's like, there you go. Get that bad boy recorded on NPR. They're professional, you know? And he still laughs about it today. We'll cross trucks, or he'll be at the station one day and he'll be like, hey, guys, you guys ever heard the story about how Eric tried to blow up NPR? So, yeah, just good old times.
Right. What a proud moment.
Yeah. Here I am, professional, right? Professional on the radio.
Right. Well, you're doing all right here. You can't blow me up from over the phone, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, I have a little segment called Quick Fire 5. 5 quick questions, beer related. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. What are your beers that you'd recommend someone try?
I would really recommend for people to try our lager. It's an Italian lager. It's something a little different than a lot of the other lagers in the market. For me, you know, earlier we talked about clean, consistent. You know, in my world, a good clean lager, a good West Coast style IPA is what people should be seeking in a brewery.
Right.
Maybe it's just because I'm an old man. I don't know. But that's what, if people walk in our door, that's what I'm going to kind of drive them towards, because then that also opens up their eyes to, like, it's a good gateway beer, but then also as a brewer, as other brewers in the back of our facility, as other brewers come in from other breweries, what do they tend to drink? They're drinking that.
Right. Favorite brewery other than yours?
Favorite brewery other than mine is going to be Creature Comforts.
Okay.
My bromance goes far and long for them. So, kind of play with that one if you want. Yeah, they do a lot of things, and I was actually telling my guy that's headed that way here in a month, I was like, hey, you know, if you ever hear them kind of griping about this brewery over in Birmingham that, you know, kind of, you know, imitates them on so many levels, just know that is me. And, you know, flattery or imitation is the highest level of flattery. So,
right.
They just do, I mean, their IPA, is a top-notch, high-quality, you know, it's West Coast-ish style. It's crisp. It's clear. I mean, I love it. And then they have their lager that is just, again, I mean, it's awesome. Everything those guys, that whole team does is top.
Gotcha. Favorite style of beer?
Oh, you've heard me talk about lagers and more lagers.
Right. I'm guessing it's lagers.
It's going to be a lager, yes, and it will be an Oktoberfest. You know, if I had one beer that was all I was going to be able to drink for the rest of my life, it would be a Marzen or an Oktoberfest.
Last beer you drank that blew you away?
It's a pretty hard task to blow me away. They always laugh that if I say, "Oh, that's pretty good," they're like, "Oh, we scored. We made it to the top." You know, I'm trying to go down my list. You know, we did a Mexican coffee imperial stout that we barrel aged.
Oh, it sounds great.
And you know, the cinnamon, the cayenne pepper.
Right.
Man, that was just one of those. Now, I couldn't drink a ton of it. One, because I'm still a lightweight. It's amazing. I've been drinking beer forever. I run a tank brewery, but I'm still a lightweight. Two 6% beers, I'm feeling a buzz. And this thing was, 10.5%. So, for me, a little 4-ounce pour of that, little 6-ounce pour of that is great and it's wonderful. So I would say that would be the last beer that I've had that truly blew me away.
All right. Well, and you have one keg of beer to hold you over for a 2-week quarantine. What beer are you choosing?
Yeah, so, what's stepping into my head is, and I haven't even brought up any of this, is, like a Duchess or Flanders. With how I was able to enjoy quarantine was cooking. Again, I'm out of the firehouse. I mean,
right.
I'm in the firehouse. In 2 days I'm home with my family. What am I going to do while I'm home? Well, I'm making all kinds of different foods and different versions of apple pies and doing that. So to me, a good Flanders would be nice, with that tartness, just that sourness to kind of keep things entertaining, and it would go well with so many of the rich dishes that you end up cooking while you're at the house.
Right.
The other side is, a big double IPA would be great. If I only had a 6-barrel of it, if I had 5 gallons, and we're truly stuck like San Francisco or New York was, where you're like, okay, you can't even like get off your block, and you just need a way to kind of cut the pain. Something like that would have been nice. But no, I drank. We have a pale ale here, very hop forward, 4.1%. For me, during our COVID, that's what I was drinking. Just because it's now 4:00, it's cocktail hour, and
right.
It's time to drink some beers.
Hey, it's 5
and I can
somewhere.
drink a couple and still function and enjoy time with the kids and not be drilling on myself. So,
gotcha.
Again, it comes down to quality with the product as well as quality with your time with your family.
For sure. Well, Eric, that's all I got for you, man.
Awesome.
I appreciate you taking out the time.
Yeah. Any more questions, holler at me. As you can tell, I'm happy to talk.
Yeah. I'm Mike Curtin for the Brew World Order podcast with Eric Meyer, owner of Cahaba Brewing Company in Birmingham, Alabama. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir. Hey, stay safe on the job.
Hey, guys, thank you so much for listening to my interview with Eric Meyer, owner of Cahaba Brewing Company in Birmingham, Alabama. Whether you're passing through, you live in the area, or just visiting a friend nearby, you should definitely check him out. Also, give him a follow on social media while you're at it. Every other Sunday, I'll be releasing a new episode, so subscribe, and you'll never miss one. Also, check us out on social media for updates on the podcast. I'm Mike Curtin for the Brew World Order podcast. You stay safe out there.